Okay, I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It's January 27th, 2021. And we will begin with our public statement as read by Commissioner Githens.
Thank you. We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear. And we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Githens. And we will move on now to department updates. And first up is Ms. Caudle with an update from the health department. So important.
Good morning. Good morning. So I have good and not so good news, but no really bad news. So, we'll keep things in perspective. We do still have a high level of community spread with COVID-19, although we are seeing some improvement. So that's the good news. Our rate per 100,000 is holding steady. So again, it's not getting worse, and that's good news. And I think that we are seeing it to start to come down. So I'm pleased that it is what I would say is kind of stable at the moment, and we're seeing improvement. So I would expect to see that to drop. Our percentage of our positivity rate is dropping. I'm sure that some of that has to do with increased testing at IU. However, when we look at our local testing sites, their positivity rate is also coming down. So this is not, or what that tells me is this is not all about IU's increased testing. It's also what we're seeing in our small clinics. I do encourage people to continue to get tested. I don't want people to think that just because vaccine is starting to come out, that testing is no longer important. It is. Certainly, if you are symptomatic, we want you to get tested. And the community site on Morton Street does have rapid antigen testing where you can get your results back in less than 30 minutes. So for people who are symptomatic, new symptoms within the past 7 days, you've got to meet those criteria, but that's the place to go if you are symptomatic, as opposed to the Armory. If your test is negative, they will follow that up with a PCR just to confirm that it is truly a negative test. We do try to ask people to get there an hour before closing if they are going to do an antigen test, because if it's negative, then we need to do that PCR, and it can take 30 minutes to get those results back. So we want to be able to put that into motion and make sure that all of that gets done and gets prepared and is ready for pickup to go to the lab as quickly as possible. We do encourage people to continue to register ahead of time, but we'll take walk-ins as needed. The rapid testing, I believe, is now up and shows on that testing map. So you can make an appointment specifically for that, where at one time you could not. The Optum Clinic is also still open, and I believe that that is being extended a little while longer. As you know, that's on a month-to-month basis. We do need to maintain our prevention strategies, so maintain distancing, consistent, good mask, face covering wearing. As we see new strains come in, it is just a reminder that this virus is still here, and we need to continue all the things we've been doing, as well as get vaccinated when it is available to you. We know that people are excited. Many people are excited to get vaccinated. We're happy about that. Just be patient, and when you are eligible, please be persistent and get that appointment. Currently, we have two appointment sites for vaccine in the county. One is with the hospital, and that is at the Med Arts Center. So I would encourage anyone, because they have an elevation, there's an alley that you have to navigate. If you have mobility issues, I would encourage you to use the convention center location just to make that easier in terms of mobility. The health department's clinic is what's at the convention center. Currently, we are open 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. We continue to monitor the amount of vaccine that we're getting, the appointments. We have to work with the state and Zotec, the platform for scheduling, to try to find that balance to make sure we have the right amount of appointments for the vaccine that we have. So we are continuing to do that. We may add a day if more vaccine becomes available. We've added some vaccinators to try to move things through. The reports right now is that it is moving very smoothly. So we're glad about that. It's always nice to hear that people are not having to stand in long lines. They're pleased with the process. We know that there's always improvements to be made, and we're working on those, but right now it is going very, very well. The other thing that I will mention right now, the eligibility, of course, is healthcare, first responders, those in the front lines providing service to people, and people who are 70 and over. As we move through and get a bulk of this population vaccinated and more vaccine is available, then the state will move that eligibility down. We anticipate 65 to 69 will be the next group, but I do not have a timeline for that exactly. That will be shared as soon as we get it. I know there's a lot of interest in a standby wait list, and yes, we do have one. It is a weekly list in order to try to keep it somewhat manageable, but I do want to make sure that people understand we will still be following the state guidelines and eligibility as we move through that wait list. We don't have much at the end of days to give out, and certainly staff and clinic workers who have not yet been vaccinated will get those first doses. We just haven't had a lot to give out yet. So I want people to understand that it is fine to get on that wait list, but don't expect that to necessarily move you into getting your vaccine a lot faster. We had 1,000 people on that list last week, and Saturday, I think we had 2 doses, and they were given to clinic staff who had not yet been vaccinated. So frontline staff who had not been vaccinated. So I just want to kind of provide that clarification on that. And we're continue to assess that. Things may change as we go through these different eligibilities and vaccine becomes more available. And with that, I would again just say, remember that testing is important. And right now, the turnaround time for results for the PCR is pretty quick, generally within 48 hours. So if you are symptomatic, certainly get tested. If you're a close contact, we would encourage you to get tested at that day 5 to 7 range. But you cannot test out of quarantine. That is still true. And if you are symptomatic, please stay home except for that test until you are better. And if you are positive, then you need to be home for at least 10 days till you have no fever for 24 hours and your symptoms are improving. So we will get through this. So that's the good news.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Caudill. Let's see if there are any comments or questions. Commissioner Jones?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Githens? Oh, you're muted.
No, but thank you for staying on top of this.
Yeah.
The staff's doing a fabulous job, absolutely fabulous. So, and the volunteers, as I've said before, are absolutely terrific, as have been the convention center staff.
Well, and I was at the Medical Arts Center on Monday, and there were people there with umbrellas to escort you from your car to the door. I mean, just, they were amazing. Yeah, in and out in 30 minutes, and that included the 15-minute wait time after my vaccination. So,
yeah, and So it's important though, even though we're seeing better numbers, that we're still in the middle of a public health emergency. So that doesn't mean, to whip off your mask and go hang out with a bunch of people. I think that's an important thing. And also, I heard what we're going through right now is sort of this eye of the storm, and that it may get worse again with all the mutations that they're finding throughout the United States. So I think we just all still need to be aware and vigilant. We had a question last night, Ms. Cottle, on the council meeting after you had completed your agenda item. We were talking about CARES money, and Councillor Hawk asked why we don't have more appointments for vaccinations at the convention center, and what can we do about that? So maybe if you could address that now for the public, that would be good. I tried my best.
Certainly. Well, we can't make more appointments than we have vaccine for. That's first. And that is part of that kind of assessing where we are and what the state's sending, making sure that we're not kind of overbooking so that we don't have people with appointments and then be turning them away. That is certainly what we do not want to do. So it is a work in progress. And again, our plans are to eventually open on Fridays, but we have to have more vaccine in order to do that. And certainly we have Indiana University, who has said that they would do a large public vaccination clinic, and we keep pushing. If the state can give vaccine and they can get it to us, that will be another option as well. And honestly, that would then allow us to perhaps focus more on filling gaps. So there's lots of planning, but the main thing is we cannot give appointments for vaccine we don't have. And keep in mind that right now with these vaccines, it's 2 doses. So when we see somebody this week, we have to schedule them for 4 weeks out. And so we have to have that balance in 4 weeks that they have an appointment, but we have some other appointments for first-time people. And that is logistically challenging as well. And we're working through that. The state's working through it. I would say every week there is kind of some sort of change, but we do not have the capacity to just go in and change the number of appointments. We have to go through the state and the system. And that is kind of a system so that we're not, again, overbooking and then not having vaccine for people.
Right. And the state is making that decision about how much vaccine to send to Monroe County, for example, and each county.
Right.
That's out of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's out of our hands. Right. Thank you for addressing that. I appreciate that so much. Excellent. As always, we appreciate you being here and all the hard work of your staff and the board, and Dr. Sharp, of course, as well. Next up is emergency management. Allison Moore.
Good morning. We're here at another Wednesday. So exciting, isn't it? I feel like this week has really, really been busy for our department. We've had some possibilities of some weather-related events prior to today, and we have another one that's potentially going to happen this afternoon. We could get between 1 to 2 inches of snow later today, and so that evening commute could potentially be very, very rough. So please go slow and plan accordingly for that. I'm sure that Ms. Ridge will speak about the highway department, and I'm sure that our roads will be in the best conditions that they can for between Ellettsville, Steinsville, the city, and the county, because I know that they work hard when those events happen, but we will be working closely with them. Please stand by for an Everbridge announcement. If we do get significant weather, we will put us under a level of advisory depending on where that snowfall is and how the road conditions are. So be watching for that. If that's something you've not signed up for and you want to get that information later today, I encourage you to go to co.monroe.in.us, and there's a little megaphone. You can click on it and click on winter weather events as one of your weather options, and then you will be getting those notifications. Our blood drives in January, as I announced last week, are in fact full, but we have 2 in February. They are the 16th and the 17th. The 16th is from 2 to 7, and the 17th is from 10 to 3. Both those drives are at the Monroe County Convention Center, and you register at redcross.org. And they are filling up. So if you are interested and willing to make that contribution, we greatly appreciate that. But please get on and do that quickly. I've had several phone calls because some of the ones we've announced, they can't seem to find. And once they're full, sometimes they just disappear and they're not there anymore. So those drives are still happening. But once they're full, sometimes the Red Cross takes those off. And so I've had several people contact me willing to make those appointments. And there are 2 available still in February. So thank you for those individuals that are trying to do that. It's the last commissioners meeting in January. So this is the last week that I'll be talking about heat safety. Next week, we'll start on a different topic. Our heat safety, couple things to just remember is never plug in a space heater to an extension cord. Plug it directly into an outlet. It could potentially have an increase to start a fire when you plug it into an extension cord. And lastly, space heaters must be sat on a flat level. Don't ever put them up on furniture or over a space where it would not be on a flat surface. So 2 little helpful heater hints in this cold January to keep your homes safe. And I believe that's all I have today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Moore. Let's see if there are questions or comments. Commissioner Jones?
Just thank you for the information about safe heating. It's certainly something we need to hear about in the winter.
Absolutely. I actually had a fire department contact me and said, hey, we would like to join you in these different events and help spread those words even farther. So we're now collaborating with some of our other departments and showing some of those partnerships. And then each week they now have that calendar. And so I've joined in some other departments, and we're just going to keep spreading preparedness this year.
Great.
Right. Commissioner Githens?
No, but what Commissioner Jones said, this is wonderful to share this with people.
Yeah. Very useful update. We certainly appreciate it as always, Ms. Moore, and I know you're busy doing 100 other things too. So, thanks for the note about the potential for snow today. It's that really horrible 1 inch of snow that is just so slick and makes the roads so slippery. So it's not a huge snow dump, thank goodness, but it's actually pretty treacherous driving once it starts. So thanks for that update. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you. And now we will turn to Ms. Ridge for the road and traffic update. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, as Allison states, we are preparing for some snow. So all the crews will be in at the shop at noon to load their trucks with sand and do some pre-treating for the afternoon before it comes in. So they always have a great plan in place out there, which kind of leads me into something that we're trying to do some improvement in the department in response time to some of the storm events or flood events or a tree crossing the road. The way it works right now, we manually call. If it's a small crew, we call through the call out list until we can get a crew in, which this might end up having a deputy sitting at a tree across the road for a lengthy amount of time. By the time we make the calls, get a crew in, the crew gets to the shop and then gets to the site. So, and then also in a storm event, when we have to call 40 plus employees in, you can think about the time that it takes for us to start that calling and get everybody in, and then the management get to the shop and get things going before all the crews arrive. So we presented a software presentation with Eric Evans on Monday, and the program is called Doppler, and it's actually an automated calling center system for our crews. It's very minimal in the cost of $1,200 a year. Once we send out the notification, when we set up the system, and we will set it up by crews, We know we have to follow the union call-out rotation, so that will be set up. This company is very familiar with that type of setup with different government entities having a union. It will also, if we have a storm event, it'll be one press of the button and all of our crews would be called at the same time through automation. You can set it up for repeat calling, things like that. So we are excited about this. We think, we can get the crews in at a faster rate and get them to whatever issue that might be taking place at that time. It's also good for data tracking for, we might skip somebody on a rotation just out of error, so we can go back and correct that issue and then show, who we call, when we call. So yeah, it's going to be we think it's going to be an improvement for the department for response time for even if it's an ice patch spot. So yeah, we're excited to start that. We've been in discussion with Angie and Eric about it, and I think we're all thrilled. And I think the management at the garage is extremely thrilled that they will not be sitting and punching numbers. And it can take up to an hour to do that when you're calling in 40 people. So this will eliminate a loss of time of at least an hour on any storm event when you have to call in all the crews. So we're excited about that direction. So, but I can answer any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Ridge. Commissioner Jones, questions or comments?
Are you actively pre-treating the streets for this storm event?
We absolutely are pre-treating today, yes.
Great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Githens?
I like what you've described as new Doppler system. It sounds like it'll improve safety for county residents.
Thank you. We think so too.
Yeah, speed of response is so important and it is tough. So sometimes these things happen in a tree in the roadway or whatever it might be that you can't predict. And sometimes you can. You could say, well, look, it's supposed to snow tonight. And yeah, so it sounds like a great system, and I'm glad that you all looked into it with Mr. Evans. So that's really good. So excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Ridge, and we will be talking to you in a little bit. All right. Let's see if there are any other any department heads that have a departmental update for us. Just raise your hand, let us know. It does not look like any. All right. So with that, let's turn to public comment, and this is for items that are not on our agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person, one go around per person, and we will have on the screen a timer, and Ms. Dayton will sound a tone when there's 30 seconds left. Great. When you hear that tone, you have 30 seconds left in your comment. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time today on Zoom, there should be a little hand at the bottom of the screen, a raise hand. Just click on that and we will recognize you, and Ms. Dayton will bring you over to make your comment. It looks like we have one commenter right now for public comment, Alex G. Good morning.
Good morning. So my full name, in case you need it, is Alex Goodlad, G-O-O-D-L-A-D, and I just want to give kind of the clean version of the email I sent you guys, which is pretty much just want to continue off the public comment that I said last week, which is I would really want you guys to not crack down on encampments at county properties, such as the Shear, for example. And as you know, Forrest mentioned in the last meeting, like there was arrests that were carried out by the sheriff's department, and that's just not okay. Like, I shouldn't have to go into detail about why arresting two people that are homeless is just cruel and insane. And you guys signed the Beacon's letter, which is great. And the letter that you signed by Beacon includes, language that echoes the petition that BHC founded, which says that you shouldn't crack down on any encampments. So just like in Seminary Park, that also includes the sheer same reasons, CDC guidelines, you should listen to those. I do understand that, I think it's a good idea to, direct them, like tell them, yeah, there's other encampments in other places. If we stop cracking down on these freaking encampments, then maybe we'll get a stable one, with that meet sanitation procedures that the CDC actually wants us to do. That would be great if we could do that. And yeah, that I think you guys get the point. Just practice what you preach on the county level, and follow what the letter you signed. That's all I'm saying. Thanks. I yield my time.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have comment to offer today for an item not on our agenda? Please raise a hand at the bottom of the screen. Okay, seeing none, we will come back to our agenda. I just do want to make a point that, and a note that, just for accuracy's sake, that no one's been was arrested for trespassing or camping. That is not what happened. So with that, let's move on to our next agenda item.
Move approval of the minutes for January 20th, 2021.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and we have a second. We are going to come up with a mime for motions and seconds, and that way we. Any comments, edits, corrections?
Not from me.
All right.
No.
All right. Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on approval of the minutes for January 20th, 2021?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. And next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable, January 27th, 2021, and payroll, January 29th, 2021.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Miller, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. The total for AP claims was $2,118,857.09. $1,297,278.86 was for NDOT for the Hunters Creek Road project, specifically for Baby Creek Phase 2 design work and engineering. $269,889.85 was for North Park LLC for a bond payment for the State Road 46 corridor. And finally, $168,516 was for the Treasurer of State for the examination of records. And as far as payroll is concerned, the total was $1,887,855.72. It was a little bit higher than normal due to the first of two installments that take place on claim 2 and 14 for the health savings account employer contributions, as well as a large number of uniforms, tools, and clothing allowances in our special supplemental payroll.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Githens?
No, thank you.
And I don't either. Let's see if there's some public comment on this item. please raise your hand at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Seeing none, we'll come back to Mr. Cockrell for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Miller. I will note that we have received a report from Weights and Measures. The report covers the time period from December 16th, 2020 through January 15th, 2021. And with that, we will move on to new business, and this is an item continued from last week.
Move to approve ordinance 2021-01, Westgate on Third Planned Unit outline.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second, and we have Ms. Cornelius from the Planning Department. Good morning. We cannot hear you. You're not muted, but we can't hear you.
I suspect Zoom needs to select the correct microphone.
Okay. And now you're muted. Try unmuting. It looks like it connected you.
All right.
There you are.
Okay.
Perfect. It worked.
I think you would get better at this after so many meetings, but there's still not quite perfected.
That's okay.
All right. So did we want a full rundown like last week?
I think I don't know about my colleagues. Do either of you want the full? I don't think Commissioner Jones was really able to get a full sense of this whole thing. So if you would, that would be useful, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
And the petitioner did prepare some slides if you'd like to see those when his time is ready.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so the request is to adopt the Westgate on Third Mixed Use Plan Unit Development Outline Plan. The petition site is 37.99 acres. It's located in Section 2 of Van Buren Township. The address is 4755 West State Road 48. So this would be an amendment to the zoning map from estate residential and estate residential 2.5, RE1 and RE 2.5 to the plan unit development called Westgate on Third. So the PUD outline plan is proposing a mixed use development that would include multifamily residences and commercial space. The petitioner states in their written statement, which is Exhibit 1, that the development is designed to provide additional housing options for working individuals and families within the county, and kind of focused on specifically for employees of adjacent commercial properties such as Ivy Tech Community College and companies located in Park 48 development. This development would include multiple road connections and alternative transportation connections. So on the left is the current zoning. It's split zoned. The comprehensive plan does identify this area for mixed residential and mixed use. So the comprehensive plan for these two zoning designations does support, it identifies this area as infill for development that would be mixed use with residential. It does support attached home types, ground floor retail, and a higher density overall. So the petition site would not be subdivided. So instead of meeting lot area requirements, the petitioners are proposing a density of units per acre. These densities do depart from the existing zoning, but fit under what the comprehensive plan suggests for the area. So the petitioner is stating that development would be built out in one phase over 18 months. Because the site won't be subdivided, the management of the property will stay under single ownership, allowing maintenance of the infrastructure to be designated to one entity. For transportation, the petitioner is proposing to have a private shuttle service for adjacent employment areas that would start immediately upon the opening, the certificate of occupancy for the site. They're also proposing to upgrade 2 existing Bloomington Transit stops they're designated as the Bell and Park Square stops. The placement of the multifamily structures within the property have substantial setbacks from the property lines with landscaping and tree buffers to buffer the adjacent existing residential neighborhoods. There has been preservation of existing trees along most of the boundary. In addition, there will be multiple stormwater detention facilities, and there will be protection of a karst that's located in the center of the property. Right now, it's just kind of a low divot. It's an open field. So on the left image on the screen, the yellow circle area is kind of the open space, which is technically where the karst is. So the development is split up into kind of 3 areas. So area A would be approximately 8 acres in size. This would have 3 separate 3-story buildings. So buildings 1 and 3 would contain a first floor private office space where people could rent and work out of a central location. That would be approximately 22,000 square feet of office space. In building 2, there's a proposed 11,000 square feet of retail business space. And then on the 2nd and 3rd floor of these buildings, there would be approximately 84 rental apartments that would be accessed through interior hallways and elevators. There is an existing single-family home that would be maintained for the current owner. Basically, they have an agreement where the homeowner can stay there until she's ready to vacate. When she does choose to vacate, that location will eventually turn into what will be a property maintenance building. So for the density per acre of this area, it would be about 10.5 residential units per acre. The Karst Farm Trail is directly west to this petition site, and the petitioner's representative has added in a fountain plaza that would be kind of a feature. The idea is that it would be kind of a stop along the trail, and also would kind of add some aesthetically pleasing to that first floor retail business area. So area B is about 15 acres in size. There are proposing 7 separate 3-story buildings that contain approximately 126 rental apartments. They would be accessed through interior hallways. It would have attached or detached garage. The density for this area is about 8.45 units. Along the way, you can see that there are multiple features to the community that they're proposing. In Area B, there's a pool and a clubhouse. It also shows there is a connection to Karst Trail down on the southwest side. There would be a fenced-in dog park for community members. Just to go back, because I didn't mention this up here. This area, Area A, would include a community garden. The Karst feature would be open space. The entrances would come off of the eastern road, so there will be some clearing of existing trees just to meet site distance and other safety requirements. You can see the clubhouse and the clubhouse parking and pool on the southern side. So area C is again 15 acres. It has 6 separate 2-story buildings. It would be designed in a townhome style. So it would be approximately 120 rental townhomes. All these units would have their individual ground level entrances. The petitioners are proposing that these would have garages attached and detached that would be accessible. So it would have a single family residence feel while being attached. The density per acre in this area would be 8 units to acre. So this is a pictometry photo from early 2020 that just shows what the site is currently looking like. This is the last piece of the Daniels farm, which is 37 acres. So you can kind of get to see the concept that the comprehensive plan is seeing this as infill to connect these existing neighborhoods. We are looking south in this photo. Just south of the petition site is a school, elementary school. To the west is a PUD, and to the east is as you can see, a pretty dense, older residential neighborhood. So this was a petitioner supplied image that illustrated the employment opportunities in the area. So there is Cook, Baxter, and quite a few other Ivy Tech in this area. They've reached out and they've, in the exhibits, there's quite a few support letters for a few: Bloomington Economic Development Corporation, Cook Group, Ivy Tech, the Regional Opportunities Initiatives, and also the current property owner, Martha Daniels. I did hear from Mr. Mark Avis that the daughter of the current property owner is on the call today. So some of the ordinance conditions that were included, several of these have to do with meeting site distance improvements or just being able to meet the highway requirements for the proposed entrance of the community off of Park Square Drive. That includes the vegetation removal and berm removal. There would be off-site road improvements. It was suggested that it should have a construction of 2 exit lanes if required for the exit capacity. The outline plan includes for the Area A retail business, they go ahead and design the list of uses that would be permitted in this area. So things that would kind of be compatible and provide, walk-up services or drive services along that area, since there's not too many groceries or coffee shops. So this would be supporting some retail in that area, would support the community. So when this proposal was reviewed by the Monroe County Plan Commission, they did request that they have, they forwarded a positive recommendation to the county commissioners, but they included the request to be able to review the development plan with specifically looking at the east-west road connection and also looking at the grading and erosion control, because they did have specific interests in just making sure that the karst is preserved and maintained in a proper way. And then, of course, there's that the development plan should be in accordance with the Monroe County Highway Department and County Drainage Engineer reports. Their feedback has been positive to the date. So Plan Commission voted 8-0 to send this petition to the commissioners with a positive recommendation. And I do have slides for the petitioner. If you would like to see them, I can go back or move forward whenever you'd like.
Let's first see if there are questions for you before we get to the petitioner. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, and I apologize. I had intended to watch last week's meeting so I wouldn't ask the same questions over and over, but I was unable to download it. So hopefully I won't be repeating too much of what you've already gone over. Initially, I was curious about condition 2, which says that statements of the petitioner regarding landscaping, open space, karst, and environmental protections would be accepted. Does that mean that there won't be any inspection to make sure that these things are actually done the way they're supposed to be?
There would be. With any development plan, they would, in order to get their certificate of occupancy from the building department, we would have to issue a land use certificate, which would involve an inspection, making sure that they did, install the landscaping that they said they would, et cetera, making sure that they did follow the development plan.
Well, then what does it mean when it says the statements will be accepted? The statements of the petitioner will be accepted.
Is that located within the ordinance?
It's condition 2 in section 1.
Not exactly sure.
Well, if you want, you can get back to me later about that.
Okay, and maybe Mark Avis or Daniel Butler can speak to that as well. I will look up and try to find that exact area so I understand.
Okay. And then apparently there's an intention to prevent students from renting there. How would that happen?
There would not be a specific provision to reduce students using this as housing. I think overall the intent of the petitioner is that this would provide housing for they found is lacking for those major employers in that area.
Yeah. Okay, and then the decreased amount of parking islands and decreased landscaping. I was a little concerned about that. The landscaping on the island so often prevents things from heating up so much.
So the required interior plantings would be 5%.
Yeah.
And chapter 830 would require generally 10% of the total area. From the standpoint of comparing the ordinance, it is a deviation of 5%, but considering that open space for PUDs for this area would have a minimum of 25% of the site, and the petitioners are proposing 60. It didn't necessarily seem like necessarily a make or break for the parking, because the parking is so spread out. There's not that many large lots where an island would help kind of diffuse heat.
Okay. And then the current agricultural structures, are they just going to be demolished?
Yeah, the petitioner can talk to this a little more, but yeah, everything but the house will be removed or replaced.
Okay. And I think the only other questions I have are probably better addressed to the petitioner.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Githens, just questions for staff?
I was really pleased that Ms. Crecilius forwarded my questions to the developer. And so I think that mine also go to the developer.
Okay. I just want to say something for clarification. As you went through a number of the items you had mentioned for the community's use. And when you said that, many of these amenities are only for people who live in this specific Westgate community. For example, clubhouse, pool, gardens, dog park. The plaza for the Karst Farm Greenway Trail is actually something for the entire public to enjoy. I just wanted to point that out, that's a different community that you're talking about when you say for community use, right? Just to clarify that for people.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and turn to the petitioner to present the slides, or you will, or both, and then we'll have questions for the petitioner.
So Mark, it's up to you. I have your slides at the end of the show and can run it for you, or you can share screen.
Thank you. I'll let you run it. I'll just say next slide like we did with the Plan Commission. And you did a very good job today, so I appreciate it. So I'll skip over what stuff you went over. Yeah, we can start with the first, and I'll just kind of go through it really quickly. I do think it's important to kind of go through this overall view. I think it will answer some of your questions, and then we'll go from there. So we'll start off with the development. You know, we consider this one community with 6 different uses as a mixed-use PUD. It's important to note that this project will be developed, managed, and controlled by, you know, one seasoned development team in one phase, which ensures the entire thing will be completed. We will be providing one financial guarantee for all the site improvement costs, which is, again, something that is kind of unusual for a project this size, but we will be guaranteeing it. And it will be one financing entity for the entire project. A lot of times with mixed use, you don't know if you're gonna get this, or this, because they say it will be completed if there's a need. You know, we will be completing the entire project as one phase. We've always stated this. We feel this is an overall low density market rate multifamily project. We have submitted and committed to using only high quality materials, which is cement-based siding with brick and masonry accents. There's no vinyl on these buildings whatsoever. All the streets and improvements will remain private. And mentioned, you know, we consider smart clustering. 60% of the project is non-impervious, which is very unusual. We try to balance the right density and also providing a lot of open space. It's important to note that the office spaces is available to anyone. It's just not for the residents. Many Stone Chase residents have already inquired about being on a list to utilize this private office suites, and other homeowners in the area as well. There's been an extremely strong interest for the office space. And again, we want to note that this will be financed initially in construction with conventional construction financing. We're not utilizing any subsidized financing. We're also not receiving any federal or state funds for this development. So it is one development, and we're providing conventional financing, excuse me. Okay, next slide, Ann, please. As Ann mentioned, and I'll just point out a couple of things. Talk about the interior hallways and buzzer systems. All the units have intercom systems that allow guests into the apartments. It's important to note that the 84 apartments have elevators. These are 100% accessible, geared towards empty nesters or people that do have mobility issues. This will be one of the first projects in the entire Bloomington MSA that's non-student that will have elevators. And then regarding Area C with the townhome style buildings, again, to note that these are 2-story structures. Every single unit, whether you live on the second floor or the first floor, have their own doors on the first floor. So they get their own private entryway. So these are three very distinct different product types. With gardening, we talked about, she forgot to mention the community garden also as a amenity. And basically 90% of the units are studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms. We only have a few 3 bedrooms. So we don't anticipate, having a burden to the schools. Next slide, please, Ann. Again, talking about the Cars Trail, and I just want to bring this up. Regarding the Cars Trail, this was actually brought up by the Plan Commission. I give their credit due. When they walked the site, they really wanted some type of statement feature along 3rd Avenue. And we came up with this idea, which I think is a nice public benefit to the community. We'll have special, just like this, we'll have special pavers. We will have some covered bike stands, benches will circle the parking. It'll be designed to be very open and inviting. It'll become a main focal point along 3rd Street and the Cars Trail, a place where people, not only the residents or office users, but again, the general public and the community of Monroe County can also utilize this space. Next slide. And again, in terms of the PUD and the public benefits, besides the Cars Trail, we are again upgrading 2 bus stops on the east side of the development. As this slide shows, just going into the family history, which I think Ann did a good job on, is, this land, all this land, most of it was owned by the Daniel family before it was developed. All this land was originally zoned to state residential before it being developed. The proposed use for this remaining 38 acres, I think, complements the surrounding land uses. It also is in compliance with the master plan. A mix of housing alternatives close to these employment districts, equals less commuter time, less expense, less gas emissions, and a greater quality of life for people that want to live and work in the area. I thank the Daniel family for giving us the opportunity. They've given us over a year. We've worked on this for over a year at this point. They gave us the time to do things right, and to really work with the neighbors, the businesses, and then staff and the Plan Commission to design things and do things the right way. Next slide, Ann. We saw the slide in terms of walkability. When you look at the aerial, you can really see that it is a great transitional use between the apartments, duplexes, homes to the east, and the single-family homes of Stone Chase to the west. Extremely walkable to not only the companies, but also the retail that is down the road. Again, Indiana University is 6 miles away. The project's not really geared towards students. We don't prevent students from renting, but it's geared towards the users in the area. Of course, Ivy Tech might have some students, but a lot of them work as well at the same time. Next slide, please, Ann. On the project on this, we reached out to, in terms of the community outreach, we reached out to over 250 homeowners in the area, sending letters, having emails and phone calls with the homeowners. We extensively reached out to the companies in the area to get their thoughts and input. And we actually implemented a lot of their comments and suggestions into the plan before we even submitted to the Plan Commission. In my 25 years of developing, this is the first that, I've had. So far, 0 public objection, and they have real companies come out and support development, which kind of shows, I think, the need on it. I'll go through these really quickly, from Cook, the president of Cook, there's a need at this location. Their HR department got information about this project. Their employees want a new rental community. They desire modern amenities. They can walk or bike to work. They like the shuttle service. And one of the commissioners had a question about the shuttle service. There'll be pickup times in the morning at each of the 3 pods, A, B, and C. There'll be drop-offs, pick up from work, and drop-offs back to the community at pods A, B, and C. If someone does have a mobility issue and needs to get picked up at their home, of course, we would accommodate that. I think Cook and others are short on parking, if you look at their parking spaces now. So they're very excited to have this availability for the shuttle. And this is the first time we'll actually be offering this, but it makes sense in this location. Next slide from Ivy Tech. Again, same thing. They also like the 3 different housing options. This got brought up in the Plan Commission a lot, that this really appeals to, we call it the circle of life. young residents, married couples, empty nesters, where people can go from Stone Chase, sell, become an empty nester, move into a townhouse or the elevator buildings. And again, young people could be living, in this area, and then they upgrade to a Stone Chase home or home in the area. So it complements the area, and I think that was something that was talked about at the Plan Commission as well. Next slide, Ann. From the president of the ROI, need market rate apartments in the area. There's a need for barrier-free, which are the elevator buildings. And again, it's very unusual that you put elevators in these buildings. There's a need for modern amenities. It's a great location. People can bike or walk to work. Next slide, from the president of the BEDC, Jennifer Pearl. There's a housing shortage, need new rental community. Again, appeal to a wide range of demographics. Very attractive for new companies, and it's an exciting development. The thing about attracting to new companies, when employees are looking to live or potentially accept a job at these companies, they're looking about where they're going to live. There's nothing like this in West Monroe. I hope this does get approved and developed. It'll be one of the nicest communities in the entire state of Indiana. This is something I think people, would be like, I can see myself living here, and it will help attract not only employees, but new companies that want to come into Monroe County. Next slide, Ann. We also reached out to local businesses. The People's State Bank down the road. New housing creates vitality in the area. The bank will benefit, their clients will benefit, their large and small employers will benefit by having this community in the area. Lastly, not to be redundant, but we also reached out to local retail businesses. Next slide, Ann. Casa Brava, the Nail Club, small businesses are struggling. They struggled. Having 300 new households in the area will contribute to their success in the area. I'm happy that the homeowners, the businesses, and the stakeholders in this area support the development. Next slide, please. I think this is an important slide just to look at, when you look at Monroe County, there's so many different subsectors of the county that, north, south, east, close in, close out, but in this immediate area for these employees, and these are the major employees of Monroe County, besides just the college, is that, there's no availability to rent a house or an apartment in this area. You go online, there's nothing available. And the housing that is available is relatively very high rent, because there is no affordability. So by supplying 300 new apartments in the area, we believe that it helps reduce the stress of elevated and escalating rents. So that's just talks about need. Next slide, Ann, please. We talked about the transportation, the shuttle service. The slide in the left-hand corner is what we'll be proposing in terms of upgrading the bus stops in the area. Sample of the shuttle service. Again, important to note, the Cars Trail runs all along this property. It's a phenomenal feature, something that obviously Monroe County is proud of, but it's a great feature for our residents as well. People can truly walk and bike, anywhere along the Cars Trail. And we like the cars feature that we're providing at this point. Next slide, Ann, please. Daniel Butler is on the phone call if there's questions. We talked about some things, but right away we went in knowing, we have a cars feature, there is drainage issues down south, and Dan will attest, we understood these issues, and we designed this we designed this site to significantly exceed actually the stormwater guidelines within the Cave Creek watershed. By having impervious lot coverage not to exceed 40%, is something that also is nice. We have 6 dry basins that are constructed that also will exceed the extended discharge requirements of Chapter 761. We've done a detailed car study. One of the commissioners talked about the cars. It's not a very deep karst. It's a shallow, almost like a I don't know, golf ball, like, a dent in the area. It's not very deep, but we are preserving it. And we did a detailed car study on the property. So, Daniel Butler has worked very closely with the drainage board, lots of discussions and meeting, and the site has been designed to meet and exceed all their expectations for this location. Next slide, please. In terms of traffic, we did an extensive traffic report. We're doing everything that they're recommending. Same thing with engineering. We agreed to everything that they're talking about and asked us to do. So that's part of the requirement. I just want to point out that one could argue that this development will actually take traffic off the roads in Monroe County. Right now, people are traveling far to get to work. By having this project in the area, people can walk, not only to their, people that live in the community can walk or bike to work or shuttle, but also people that live in Stone Chase or some of the homes nearby, having the private office suites also give them an opportunity to not have to drive far downtown to also have their private office suite. It's also interesting to note that we actually designed these private office suites before COVID actually hit or became an issue. And even more so, having these types of office spaces in the hopefully post-COVID world soon is something that will benefit many residents in the area. Next slide, please. I'll touch upon one note that the question had. When it says accepted in that condition, what that means is everything that we said and everything that we submitted, our site plan, our landscape plan, et cetera, is what we intend to do and what we have to do. So what it says, these are the plans we submitted, and the condition will be that we complete the project under these plans, subject to any changes that will happen with the stormwater management. But again, we don't feel that we've already done soil reports and grading plans, but all the landscape plans that we're committed to and all the CARS features, what that means is accepted is that, we've submitted this and this is what we intend to do and we have to do it. I think that's what the intention of that wording is. Regarding the demolition of the home, all the farm and the home, everything will be demolished. It makes way for building one and the maintenance shed and additional parking. So when the seller, and I think the seller's daughter can speak upon it, I think she is getting ready to vacate or soon. But we made that condition to let her live in the home. But once she does leave the home, the entire thing will be vacated and again designed and built as the plans we submitted. I'll go through these really quickly. Sample of the 3-story building. Again, the point is that it is 330 apartments, but they're really 3 small niches that will be developed. And once they're developed, they'll all look like they were developed cohesively over a longer period of time than one phase. So these are the 3-story buildings. Next phase. These are the Pod B buildings. And next one is the townhome buildings. And again, the townhome buildings are really unique because everyone has their own private entrance. Very important to note that in terms of accessibility, is number one, which I'll get to a slide, is we do have a package room that all packages are delivered in a secure locker. They get an actual code on their phones and they have a package. They can get their package 24/7, so there's no more stress about is that package there or has it been delivered. They get notification that they have the package and it's there. And there's all the amenities are available at no additional cost to the residents. And they also have, again, all these units have buzzer systems to let their people in. But what I was trying to say is 55% of every single apartment either is on a first floor or they're in an elevator building. So this is a very accessible community for empty nesters or people with mobility issues, or their guests. So, having people live in elevator buildings or on the first floor, it just makes a very accessible community for in terms of mobility and ADA compliance. Next slide. Just talks about the retail. It was brought up. We originally had all office spaces. Was brought up. Can we add some retail? Lots of discussions in the plan commission. Is there a need? Will it be successful? But you know, we not only committed to reaching out to, you know, local retail users that will not only be a benefit, we think, to the residents or the office users, but also to the entire immediate area. So we're talking about juice bars, coffee bars, yoga, fitness centers, etc. One thing we did commit to, it was talked about affordability of retail, is that on the retail side of it, you know, not only will we build this space, again, as one phase, but we've agreed to, it's a win-win for everyone. We agreed to basically offer very incentivized lease terms to attract quality tenants, which means like a 2 years free rent and a 5-year lease. And that's something that we talked about. And I think it's a win for us to get those spaces in there, and it's a win for the area to attract quality tenants. So that is something that, you know, we agreed to do, and I think it's a win-win for the community and the area. Next slide, please. Again, the private office suites is actually 22,000 square feet. We made that change, but the private office suites is not only an option for people that live in the area. It was brought up, I think, by the BEDC. This will also attract small incubator companies, new startup companies. They have 2, 3, 4 employees. They all want to be together in a little pod. Yeah, but this is a nice option for not only people, homeowners, but also small companies that want to be near the larger employment districts and have this option for their, you know, private office suites. They will also have their office suites will also have their own package room in their area. So if you have an office suite, you get a lot of packages for business. They'll have availability to have their own locker system within this building. Next slide, please. Just cruise through these really quickly. Sample clubhouse, next slide. And, you know, example of the pools that we do. Next slide. Talk about interior clubhouses. You know, that residents can use the interior of the clubhouses anytime they want. They can reserve it. You know, we really don't build leasing centers anymore. We build clubhouses for the residents. Next slide. Again, an example of what an interior looks like. Granite countertops, wood cabinets, stainless steel appliances, wood floors. Next slide. The fitness center, again, that's available through a fob system. They can use that any time of the day. If they're a nurse, etc., they got off hours. It's available to them. Next slide. Talked about the dog park. Next slide. We have conference spaces where people can rent out and conduct their own meetings versus having them at Starbucks. Next slide. This is the locker system we do for the residents. Again, they can pick up their package anytime. So this gets rid of the, you know, the delivery guys all know to deliver the packages here. They're not going through the interior hallways. They're not going through the apartments. They deliver all the packages here. Next slide. Let's talk about where the experienced developer. And, you know, this is something I talked about at the Plan Commission that this particular project is unique. We like the pods. We like, you know, the location. We like being where the employers are. I just want to kind of overview about how does this, you go next slide, Ann, please. Is, you know, I did this for the Plan Commission. How does this fit in with the Monroe Comprehensive Plan and goals for the community? Talks about the county should provide a variety of density options to support multifamily developments in locations where it's supported by services and infrastructure. This location has that. High demand for new developments. Undeveloped sites on 3rd Street will experience development. This is the largest undeveloped site in West Monroe County. Changing the demographics are creating a need for new housing not currently offered, and we are providing housing that is not currently offered with the 3 different housing options. Housing choices in a community help the economy, should support and permit increased housing densities, and also provide a great opportunity for diverse housing types. Lastly, this is just in conclusion, you know, this is market rate housing for employees in the area that want to live and work in the area. We overall think it is generally affordable, using 80% median income. You know, for, you know, a 1-person household, the rent would be around $1,200 for 2 people, $1,400 in that range. A lot of these, I didn't mention, a lot of the 2-bedroom plans are, we call them roommate plans. Same size bedrooms, same size bathrooms. So, you know, two guys or two girls or whatever, a couple can also live in these units, and make it more affordable by being roommates. Overall, is there a need for this development? We hope you believe there is, and we hope you support it. It's very unusual to get support letters from the major employers, and we hope you see that there's the overall benefits of this proposal, and hopefully ask for your support. The seller's daughter would like to address the commissioners. She was not on the call. Her name is Patty. She has a 5774 area code. So if you'd like to hear from her first, and then I can answer questions. Sorry about the long presentation, but I thought it was important to kind of go over how we got to where we are, and get a better overview of the development.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take her comment with comment in a moment. I think it'd be helpful. We also have Mr. Butler on as a panelist. So let me go through and see if there are questions from my colleagues first, and then we can move on to getting comment. Commissioner Jones?
Actually, I have a couple questions about the community gardens. It can be very discouraging to people to just be given a plot of land and attempt to grow something on it. And I was wondering, will you provide water for anyone using it?
Yeah, there'll be like a hose hookup that's there, and that's what we usually do. And there's water accessible in the area. There's also water accessible at the dog park as well. So it kind of runs in the same line.
Okay. Will you have that area plowed or rototilled or something in the spring so it's ready for use?
Yeah, it would be. The entire site has on-site management and on-site maintenance staffing. So when we look at that question goes into the same questions in terms of the overall maintenance of the facilities. I forgot to mention one, so let's talk about just how's the trash service done? Well, we offer valet trash service. So our maintenance guys pick up all the trash, and our guys deposit the trash in the dumpsters. So it's all part of the entire maintenance of the facilities.
Okay, I'm still curious about some things about the community garden. Usually in areas where construction has taken place, the soil is pretty much ruined. Will you be amending it or doing anything to improve the soil?
Yeah, I should have sent a photo of them. What we do is we actually do raised beds.
Okay.
That's the better way to do it. So that eliminates I think the issues that you're bringing up.
Right. Okay. And then finally, and I understand this probably is not something you want to do, but will there be any deer fencing?
Excuse me, say that again?
I was
deer
curious.
fencing?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, we probably will have fencing around it. I've done that at another development. So we probably will have some type of fencing that gets in. Yeah, that gets into the community garden. That's something that we would have.
Okay. Sounds very well planned. Thank you.
All right.
And that's all.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Githens?
Thank you, first of all, Mr. Avers, for joining us and for getting back to some of the questions I had asked. I didn't quite understand your response to my question about the possibility of Section 8 housing. It was pretty dense, and I'm not a finance person.
Yeah, so this was brought up at the Plan Commission a lot, and I addressed it with the letter, which I kind of cut and pasted if it got to you. Is when we finance a project like this with the construction financing, this is very different. I should have brought this up. We're not using any subsidized or HUD financing. We're not using any state or federal funds. So we construct this through normal, it's called temporary construction financing. A bank will, place the letter of credit for all the site developments. And we obviously bring in investors, and we have a financing entity. So that original entity can't commit to doing Section 8 because it's temporary. You're looking for a commitment, and when the plan commissions were looking for a commitment, like, will you have Section 8 or will you accept Section 8? Well, it's that the construction financing that is placed in the project, once all the site improvements are done and there's a certain occupancy of the buildings, that construction financing gets paid off. It's not long term. They're not going to be, they don't want to be there long term. It's usually a 3 to 4 year commitment. So they want to get their letter of credit back, and they want to be paid off. They want to go on their own way. So depending on who's available at the 3 or 4 year standpoint, really depends on what type of construction what type of permanent finance is available. So your permanent financing could be Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Those are HUD agencies. They usually, allow and, have no problems with Section 8 financing. It could be a life company. It changes. I don't know if Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac will be around. We don't know if HUD's going to be around. So I think one thing that staff and plan commission knew is I'm very truthful and always answer honestly. Until we know who the construction financing is, we don't know what they'll allow in terms of, will they allow Section 8, vouchers? We use a management company called Flattery and Collins, and this is very important to kind of look at. They have 70 properties. They might have 2 properties right next to each other, and people won't understand why one property accepts Section 8 or one property doesn't. Well, the answer is there's 2 different financing entities that put the permanent debt on those properties. So it has to do with the financing and what they will allow you to do. But the answer is we don't have a problem with it. Our management company also has accepted Section 8. I have been involved with a company in Bloomington. I worked with Section 8 housing. So again, the real question is, until we know who the permanent financing is and who they will allow, what they'll allow is when you can say, of course we'll, accept Section 8. But you can't commit to that because maybe there's only one person in the world 5 or 7 years from now that actually will allow Section 8. Because you can't limit your options to basically take out the construction financing. All the options need to be there. And otherwise the construction financing won't even give us the loan if they say, well, the only way you can get paid off if HUD is still around and you get HUD financing. Well, we don't know the answer. I hope that helps.
It's clear to me that it was earlier. Thank you. Yeah, I like I said, I'm not a finance person. I don't know construction. I had also been the person asked about the more precise schedules for the shuttles, because it seems to me that folks wanting to go to Ivy Tech may be working on a very different schedule than people going to TASIS or to Cook.
So how we do it is, and I've done this up in Rochester, Minnesota, which is obviously the Mayo Clinic, and you have nurses and doctors of all different standpoints. And how we do it is we actually have our own maintenance staff are the drivers, believe it or not. So the people that work at our community will be the drivers of the bus, if that makes sense. And they take turns. And the reason we do that is so that our employees can get to know the residents, and there's no better time to get to know the residents, besides driving someone around. So, it's initially it'll be done, and we discussed with Cook and Ivy Tech is it'll be initially done in the morning and in the afternoon. If they're but like it can't be done at like 9 o'clock at night because we don't have anyone that would service the shuttle service. We've never had a problem with the availability to do it and what we do. We won't be able to accommodate every single person. We don't have a driver 24/7, but we will. It'll be pick up times in the morning, pick up times in the afternoons, and then hopefully that works. If for some reason someone says, "Hey, can you do a time at 6 or 6:30?" We just have to see if we might have a maintenance guy that works on the property. He might be accommodated, but we can't make those promises because how we basically conduct the shuttle service. And sometimes we do have staff that live in the property. So, the answer would be yes if we do, and he's willing, he or she is willing to do it at that point. To us, we look at it as this is a huge leasing incentive and why people will live at the project. So if we can accommodate it, of course we will. That's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you. I find it also encouraging that there's already interest in the commercial space. So.
Say that again?
I said I find it encouraging that there's already interest in the commercial space. Thank you.
A lot of it came from actually, the residents of Stone Chase, which was encouraging. We reached out to the HOA, and it is nice. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Commissioner Githens? I don't want to step in your show. Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. So just a couple things I raised, not necessarily for anything you need to respond to, but I raised these last week, and I think it's great to see the effort that went into ensure additional drainage beyond a typical capacity, because this area is so sensitive. That's a plus. I appreciate that there's a dog park and community gardens plus. Great. The concerns that I think one of the things, just for the public's edification, is that as this project proceeds, if it's approved today, as this project proceeds, that if issues with drainage are discovered, that those will be addressed between the petitioner and our MS4 operator. There are plans in place, but plans have to change based on what's discovered on site as construction proceeds. And one of those related to the connection across from West Bell Avenue, sort of toward the northern side of the property, north central, and that there's this huge depression in the area where the driveway was supposed to go out and sort of cross over for vehicle crossover or exiting on Park Square Drive, right across from West Bell Avenue. And then the note was made, well, we might have building 3 might have to be, the elevations may have to change on that building. It may be sort of a that situation where the building is sort of at 2 elevations based on the actual soil that's there. And so I just want to make that point that there are plans in place, but this project will go through multiple phases that you won't see at commissioner meetings, but will involve a consistent effort to work with planning staff and the MS4 operator to ensure that the project is on target. That's the kind of detail that the public doesn't really see, but it's important to note that there are going to likely be a few changes from the original plan, but those are going to be completed in coordination with petitioner and county staff. The other thing that I want to point out is we cannot, and a petitioner cannot say that they will or will not accept students. That's not a viable option legally. I also want to point out that 60 to 85% of your income being spent on a rental is high. But I also want to note that there is a range that the petitioner, early on in conversations, recommendation was made, hey, how about some studio apartments? Really, kind of really helping out that sort of new adult out of the house sort of situation, and those have been incorporated, and I appreciate that. But rents are not something that we can control, and rents are not something that the petitioner is in a position to guarantee. They're a range, and you never know what the market will hold. I mean, if you looked at the San Francisco office market a year ago versus now, you have very different rentals because of COVID, but you never know. And so there's no guarantee on the rentals. We can call it workforce, we can call it affordable, but we can't require under our current code that it remain workforce housing. And that's something I hope we look at in the future with the CDO development plan as we work on those plans with the CDO and getting our ordinances in place, the next set of ordinances in place. And I also, and again, I've heard this statement before, and there's quite a bit of literature on this. Just building more stuff doesn't make things cheaper for everyone else. So I just have to put that out there because it is so much more complicated than supply and demand. But I do think that, as sad as it is to lose another piece of farmland, if you look at everything that's surrounding it, this is, for folks who, want this, great. For those who hate sprawl, this is what happens when you leapfrog spaces and you build some dense housing on one side and there's already dense housing on the other. Of course, this is what's going to happen. This is sprawl. But it's also not sprawl if you look at it in terms of what's already across the street, what's already being developed, what's already been developed between Cook and Ivy Tech and Tassus and a number of other companies in the area. So, there really isn't a use here for farmland anymore, because the value of the property is really in providing residential opportunities. So that's my little thing. So with that, let's see if there are any, we'll hear from anybody who wants to speak in favor of this petition, including the relative. Just go to raise hand. Mr. Avis, if you know you said it's a 574 area code?
Yeah, she called in. They don't have Zoom. It's a 574 area code.
Okay, great.
It looks like they are here and they won't have the ability to raise their hand. So would you like me to just go ahead and unmute them?
That would be great. All right, so it is, there we go. Great. Hello.
Okay. Hello, this is Patty Pace. Are you ready for me now?
We are. Thank you. Thanks for waiting.
I am so sorry. I have too many cats and the cat stepped on the delete button for the call. So that I had to call back. I am Martha Daniel's daughter, Patty Pace. And I just want to say again that for years, my mom and dad have lived on that property since 1957, and they purchased it in 54. And the last 30 years or so, they've had many developers call them wanting to develop their land. And they did not want any of the prior developers until Red Hawk and Domo called and stated what they were willing to do. And she has been very happy with what the vision is by them. And we also have talked to some people in the area, and that they're all for this development. And my mom, who's 91 years old, is hoping to still be around when this gets developed, because she wanted to see it develop the way that she wanted it to. And again, I wanted to reiterate that we've been very happy with the developer, and everything that we've asked for, they have done. And I think with the county too, everything that they have been asked that they have done. So I just hope that this goes through. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Let's see if there's anyone else that wishes to offer to speak in favor of this petition. Try to get this open here. Looks like we have Mr. Shelton.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Speaking on behalf of the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, we are enthusiastically in support of this project. We think it's a very needed project. Sounds like it's been very well planned. It sounds like the developer has been very cooperative with the homeowners and with you guys and the other staff for the county. And then I want to remind everybody that the TIF, West Side TIF, is just across the road pretty much from this, and we anticipate a bunch more business development in the old ABB site, which is being opened up by the extension of Profile Parkway. And then, of course, Cook's redoing the GE site, and we expect a lot more employment there. So as much as this is needed now, it's going to be needed a whole lot more in the future. So please support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Let's see if there's anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this petition. Okay, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this petition? Just hit the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. Okay, seeing none, we'll come back to the board and see if you have any other additional comments or questions. Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I just want to say that I really am very impressed by the planning that has gone into this. It's truly thoughtful, and as you said, it does make sense where it's happening. I didn't ever see farms disappear. One of the big difficulties in life is the fact that you want to farm to be close to a community, but as the community grows, it gobbles up the farm. And I'm not sure anything can ever be done about that. But yes, I think this is a good project, a good time to do it. I love the idea of the offices. That I think is a very good idea, especially right now. So yeah, I do support this.
Commissioner Githens?
Yeah, yes, I'm good with things now. Thank you.
All right, great. So with that, let us go ahead and have a roll call vote if you all are ready. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on ordinance 2021-01?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. All right, next item, please.
Move to approve Monroe County Entity Reimbursement Grant for COVID-19 expenses. Fund name, County General, Fund number 1000-36999-000-0069 in the amount of $820.72.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Gregory, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's still morning, yes. Anyhow, today I'm just presenting, we have one claim for reimbursement from a local business that I am asking for approval so we can reimburse for some of these COVID expenses that have been so helpful, for businesses to receive this reimbursement as they apply. Again, this is a continuation of the CARES program that we hope to continue for the next 3 months, if we're able to do so. And yeah, this is just the one for this week.
Great, thank you. Comments, questions? Commissioner Jones?
I'm just glad that we're able to do this.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I want to share something with the general public. I was at a Downtown Business Inc. Meeting on Monday, and a person who runs the Bluebird said that he's been using ionizers in there, and since they started doing that in September, they have not had a single staff person come down with COVID-19. They have had one band member who they don't know where the person got the COVID, but they knew the person's roommate had COVID first. So in all likelihood, it didn't come from being at the Bluebird. And he said that he had also been in touch with other places, businesses that had put in the ionizers, and they had had similar experiences to what he reported. So I want to encourage our local businesses to look at things like that, opportunities like that, because we can get reimbursed through this CARES money, or we can get them reimbursement through the CARES money. And that will keep the spread down in our community. It'll keep businesses more viable. So I'm also very pleased that we were able to do this.
Yeah, and while we're discussing CARES, it may be worth noting that we did get approval on the safety awareness submission, which is great news as well.
Right. So that was a separate CARES fund item that was passed through by the state, specifically related to raising awareness of community safety related to the public health crisis. And that's awesome news. And that means that we'll be going forward with our contract with Lambert that we've already heard once. So that'll be great news, and it'll be a good help for our public health department to get the word out. And I would say that the number I have is a little different, but the total CARES funding to date is $598,007.82. And that's really impressive. But again, CARES money is available for any business or social service organization in the county, whether you're in the city or town or not, to help with non-payroll expenses that are not covered by other loans or grants. So, and to apply, you will be going to co.monroe.in.us. And I think it is absolutely appropriate at this time, since we're talking about this, to note that we are, the program was slated to end on Friday, but because we had a council meeting last night, the council approved our general appropriation for CARES, additional CARES money, including this program. So we are going to be extending the deadline for 3 months. And so you'll be seeing that update on our website later this week. So, but whatever, don't hang on to those receipts, because there's a cap for each entity. And if you applied for, $2,000 in the past, but you have another $3,000 come in since then, go ahead and make that application for the additional support. We'll be keeping an eye on that cap, and as businesses start to bump against that, we'll have a discussion about whether that should be increased or could be increased into what amount. And so we're trying to balance out the needs of the whole community versus the needs of individual entities, but so grateful for all that's being done, from the auditor's office to our administrator, to all of the folks in the business community, to make sure that we are providing this essential service. We want to make sure that we have a vital economy once we emerge from COVID. All right, so let's see if there is any public comment on this item. Simply go to the bottom of the screen. Mr. Shelton, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Happy to be here again to thank you, and thank your staff, the auditor's office, Angie, for all you guys have done to support the business community. On behalf of the chamber, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. So thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for chiming in. We appreciate that. It looks like Mr. Goodlad.
So just to make sure, the item is the it's about the ionization, or is it about the thing about affordable housing that just went?
Nope, this is item B, which is CARES funding for businesses and social service entities in the community.
Oh, the CARES funding. Okay. So I guess what I have to say about that, to kind of continue about what you said about, balancing the needs of the overall community with needs of particular communities with, and reconciling with this pandemic, is what it takes, I think, to do that is communication. And I think that there's times where communication is good. There's times where communication is kind of bad. And I hope that communication for, allocating this funding is good, unlike the communication involving the shear encampment, where I just heard a lie about whether they are arrested. They're on trial now. So to get back to the item, I hope that, the communication is good on that item. And it says in the B Square Beacon that they were arrested. So let's communicate well about funding and communicate well with the community in general. And I yield my time.
Thank you. All right, let's see if there's anyone else that wishes to offer comment on this item. I don't see any. All right, and with that, we will come back to the board. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the motion to approve the Monroe County Entity Reimbursement Grant?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Gregory. And we'll move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve Bledsoe Riggert Cooper James agreement for Karst Farm Park ADA project. Fund name 2020 GO bond. Fund number 4813-42175 in an amount not to exceed $55,000.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Whitmer, good morning.
Good morning. This is engineering for 9 ADA projects at Karst Farm Park. And once engineering is completed, then we'll go to planning and build and get all the appropriate permits and variances that we need to do for these projects. The bond is for $335,000. All these projects will not be completed with that amount of money, but the ones that are left over will be shovel ready when there are additional funds in the future.
Great. Thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
Have you prioritized the projects? Do you know which ones would be likely to wait?
Well, currently the playground at shelters 1 and 2 is the #1 priority. And we'll have to wait till the engineering comes back, because we're going to take some of the projects and put them together. So we'll say, oh, these 3 are concrete, these 3 are asphalt. So we're going to have to see what the costs are to see what the priority level is. But the playground is the #1 priority. And also on one of the projects, we've already obtained a Duke Energy grant to pay for it after the engineering is completed.
Wonderful. I was a little curious about the new playground and the fact that it just follows the topography of the area. What is the topography?
Well, by shelter 1 and 2, it's elevated. If you've ever been out there, you'll notice that the playground is lower than shelters 1 and 2. So what we're going to do with that topography is that we're going to get the playground higher, and we're going to be able to use a ramp system to get wheelchairs up there better. It'll cost less if we built a bigger retaining wall over the years, it'll be cheaper when you replace the playground if we do this retaining wall now. And the ADA accessibility for this particular playground will be tremendously improved. So we're very excited that there is an elevation difference in the entrance for this playground.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner Githens.
No, I've been out and seen some of what Ms. Whitmer's talked about, so I support going forward with this.
Thank you. I don't have any other comments. I'm glad that we are proceeding. It's an excellent project. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Just click on raise hand. Okay, seeing none, we'll come back for the vote. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the agreement with Bledsoe, Rigger, Cooper, James for the Cars Farm Park ADA projects?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Whitmer. Great to have you here today. Let's move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve renewal of the interlocal building code authority with City of Bloomington.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Schilling. There he is. Let's see if he
Thank you very much. This is a request for a one-year renewal of the existing interlocal cooperation agreement between the county and the city regarding building code enforcement. The terms of this renewal are exactly the same as the terms of last year beyond the term or the length of, or the extension of the contract date. This agreement was first entered into in 1997, and if approved, this would be the 25th year of the agreement.
All right, thank you so much. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Githens?
Do we typically just sign this for 1 year, Mr. Schilling?
Recently, it has been a one-year term. Originally, it was a 5-year term, but and that's something that if you're interested in talking about, we can raise that with the city to see if a longer term would be agreeable to the parties.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think some of that may tie into getting our permitting software finally. We have it, but it's not ready yet still. But hopefully once we have that working for the public, I think part of this may be connected with how the systems work together. And so I think a 1 year is really appropriate. So we've been hearing some rumblings out of folks in Ellisville about not getting permits completed quickly or the inspections completed quickly on permit requests. And so for the folks who are out there, we do not at this time have an agreement with Ellisville as they are providing their own inspection services. Although we are open to engaging in a contract with them at any point, just as we did with the city. My question for you, Mr. Schilling, is it seems like we might not be getting all the information we need back to the assessor's office and that there are some glitches there. What can we do about that?
The county has talked to the attorney for Ellisville, and they were going to work on that. It's not clear that the problem was as large as originally thought, but in any event, it seems like the lines of communication on that issue have been opened. and are being worked.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Let's see if there is any public comment on this item.
Looks like we have one hand up.
Okay.
Hello. So you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I have my earphones on, so wasn't sure. Anyway, so regarding renewing the permit for a year, like I guess it might be okay, but like the status quo in general with renewing the way things are, the precedent's awful. You're not allowing people to like sleep in a safe place at night, and so that really sucks. And
this agenda item is about the building code authority and creating an extension of our existing agreement with the city of Bloomington, where the county provides building inspections, and the city utilizes the county's staff.
So is the is it about renewing the permits specifically, or about authorizing inspections on the property?
This is just for building inspections, residential and commercial.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. I guess like I do want to stay kind of on topic, so I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. And with that, let's see if there's any other hands raised. Okay. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the renewal of the interlocal building code authority with the city of Bloomington?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you very much. We will place this on the county council agenda for approval as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right. It is noon, which means our meeting is running a little long. So I would like to suggest we take a 3-minute break and come back with item E at 12:07-ish. So I'm going to put us into recess, and we will be right back with folks. Thank you. Excellent. We're coming back from our recess. We are back in session, and we will move on to item E, please.
Move to approve a settlement agreement regarding eminent domain, Monroe County versus Skirvin.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second, Mr. Schilling.
Thank you very much. This relates to an eminent domain action concerning the Sample Road Improvement Project. And I will inform you that since this item was placed on the agenda, one of the parties has raised some concern about some of the language. So today I would ask that you table this item until your next meeting on February 3rd. And we can hopefully get that language resolved in the meantime.
All right. I will go ahead and move that we continue this item until February 3rd, our February 3rd meeting. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions from the commissioners?
No.
No.
All right, with that, we will take a roll call vote on the motion to continue this item until February 3rd. Mr. Cockrell?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
The item is continued.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Schilling. Sorry, we took that break in the middle. All right, next item, please.
Move to approve Resolution 2021-06 regarding surplus property. Second.
We have a motion and we have a second, Mr. Cockrell.
Yes, we have some items from, an item from YSB and 2 filing cabinets from the legal department that are no longer needed and are in, at least the item from YSB is in pretty poor shape. And so we'd like to get those surplus so we free up the space.
Excellent, thank you so much. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No.
Commissioner Githens?
No, I like seeing all the sticky notes on the file cabinets and the pictures they sent.
Whose office did that come from? Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. All right, seeing none, we will come back to the board. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on resolution 2021-06?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great, thank you so much. And I will move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve Resolution 2021-08, approving the statement of benefits for Texas Corporation.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Cockrell, will you tell us about it and bring in the guests that we need to bring in?
Yes, and they are already panelists. Amy Ketchum is a company representative and Clark Greiner is with the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation. What you have before you is that the county received a tax abatement request from Tausis so that they could bring in an additional line of equipment to be run at their facility in the West Side TIF. It is approximately $900,000 worth of personal property that will be going into that. And just for you and the public's reminder, the TIF revenue does not derive from, will not derive any from this personal property. This goes into the general allocation of personal property taxes that's not TIF related. They're going to bring in 8 new jobs, and I'll let them explain the wages and things like that. But it has gone through the Economic Development Commission and was recommended unanimously for approval. It was brought up at the Redevelopment Commission, although no vote was taken due to no impact on TIF revenue. And thirdly, it has gone through the first hearing of the first vote of the county council because it is designating an ERA, and since it's in that West Side TIF district, that's why it comes to the commissioners as well.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Cockrell. Ms. Ketchum. Good morning or good afternoon. We just have to get you unmuted.
We go.
There we are. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I'm a director at Tausis and representing them today. As Jeff mentioned, we are excited about the opportunity to invest in this equipment. It is a new type of manufacturing for the Monroe County location. It's light manufacturing, still in automotive supplying. It's called converting. We are expecting 8 new jobs, 2 shifts at the Curry Pike location, and average wage before benefits of just shy of $20. $19.74 is the average calculated in the application. These are skilled jobs, and we will be providing the training internally for these positions. So we're excited about the opportunity to grow in the community.
Thank you so much. Mr. Greiner? Did you have anything you wanted to add, Mr. Greiner?
Well, I was going to, during the public support side, certainly make a statement of public support there, but I think this is a great opportunity for the community. And with TASIS and everything that they've done in the past for the community, they've been around for some time, and it's going to continue to grow from an economic development standpoint. And so we really do absolutely support this. So we hope that there's a favorable outcome of this.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's see if if my colleagues have comments or questions for Ms. Ketchum. Commissioner Jones?
Well, I just wanted to say that I was very pleased to see the reimbursement for tuition is one of the things you offer. In general, I don't like having tax abatements and TIFs, but I think probably this is about the best TIF for that to happen with, and it does sound quite worthwhile.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I wanted to know if the new equipment will be, because of the automation that goes with it, if they'll be displacing any other existing workers.
No, this is completely new. We do injection molding at the Daniels Way plant, and so this is a completely different type of manufacturing that we'll be doing. It's going to be giving us a competitive advantage and able to grow more with our existing customers.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Ketchum. Let's see if there's any, we heard from Mr. Greiner. Let's see if there's any other public comment on this item. Mr. Shelton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Speaking on behalf of the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, we totally support this. Besides all the economic impacts that are obvious, TASIS has just been a great community member for a long, long time. We certainly support this. And then as a member of the County RDC, I want to certainly agree with Mr. Cockrell that this has no impact on the RDC one way or the other. So it being in a TIF is immaterial. So thank you.
Right. Good point. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else have public comment to offer? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on Resolution 2021-08?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Ketchum. All right. Next item, please. Item H.
Move to approve American Structure Point Amendment Number 1 for Bullington Pike Phase 3. Fund name, Major Bridge Fund, Fund number 1171, in the amount of $156,660.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Ridge.
Good morning. Excuse me. The purpose of the amendment is to cover the additional services found to be necessary for the completion of this project. It included some requests by the county for some additional investigations of design alternatives and incorporate the alterations into the design for after investigation. Some of the alterations include a new roundabout design at the Bachelor School entrance, extension of the project limits east of Rogers for the roundabout, and a redesign at Rockport Road from a roundabout to a signalized intersection. The reason why that was changed to a signalized intersection was due to the cost of the project and for the excavation that would had to have been completed. It also amends some additional items found to be necessary from the original NEPA investigation that was done a few years ago, which is including additional Section 4 impacts, Section 106 consultation, noise study work, and archaeological investigations. It's also eliminated the need for some retaining walls, which helps lower the cost. So that is within the amendment to help offset the increased project amount. So if you have any further questions on this, I'd be happy to answer it.
All right, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, it seems like Fullerton Pike has practically become a permanent agenda item. But I think a lot of that is because Ms. Rich has been working so closely with the community that is going to be affected by Fullerton Pike. And that has brought about a number of changes in the plan.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
Commissioner Giffens?
Yeah, I've been just amazed at how responsive Ms. Ridge has been to the community out there. But I think long-term, it'll make that whole kind of project seem, I don't know, just more beautiful from the things that we've been hearing. So thank you.
You're welcome. I would have to thank you guys for helping bond for beautification of the Fullerton Pike roundabouts. We have a committee that has a very active membership that's very enthused. And we have another meeting this week. So just bringing different ideas and welcoming the project a little bit more and making it not just a blacktop runway out there. We're going to try and make it as nice as we can make it with everybody working together. So I appreciate the residents in that area for their time for helping do this project.
Yes, I will echo that. That's so true. They are engaged and they have so many great ideas. I wish we could do them all. They really do. I love their creativity. They're thinking about color, they're thinking about landscaping, they're thinking about structure. I'm personally glad to see when there's no retaining wall needed. It just seems like it's always a long-term problem. So that's good. I think that's good news.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this entrance is going to be so important, especially as the library moves forward with its plans. It's really going to be an important thing, and I'm very excited to see what we end up doing with these two roundabouts. And how we can tie them together with a nod to the history of that area, that part of the county, and really make something really gorgeous out of it. And hopefully we can apply it to our next roundabout. Some of the ideas.
And we did take the ideas from those roundabout, or our first one at Rogers Street, incorporated the stamped concrete and everything to the one on Profile Parkway. We think it was a nice choice when everyone got together and picked the colors and the structure of it. So we kind of mimic that. And I think that's the direction that we'll go, is trying to build those the same way. So
excellent. And perhaps we can take some landscaping ideas and move them into that area as well, though it's commercial versus residential, but something could be done. And so I think it's really nice to be intentional about this and not just think of, sell the space or leave it grass. There's something we can really do to make this nice. So excellent. Gives our community great character. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. I do not see any hands raised. And with that, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the American Structure Point Amendment number 1 for Fullerton Pike Phase 3?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Giffens?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. We don't have any appointments today. Just a reminder to everyone that we will be extending the deadline on the CARES funding we're providing for businesses and social services and taxing units in the county. So you'll see that update by the end of the week. Please go to co.monroe.in.us to apply and for very specific information about the documentation that's needed and how these funds can be used. I will again want to thank the council for proceeding with the $1.55 million request that we made last night for allocating some additional CARES funding, which includes this program of grants for businesses and social services, but also it includes 200,000 additional monies for the Township Assistance Fund, and we are already at $200,000 in funding to help ensure that township trustees have sufficient funds to keep residents in shelter and with utilities and to meet the basic necessities of life. So, so we appreciate the council's assistance with that. Every county resident lives in a township. If you need assistance, please contact your trustee as soon as possible. We're really proud of their hard work on this item. And just a quick note that you're going to see, the public's going to see a little bit of a shift in our meeting proceedings beginning next week. We will return to having a work session. So we'll be sending that information out to department heads this week. So with that, do my colleagues have anything else to add?
No.
I just want to encourage people who are eligible to get their COVID vaccines. And I want to thank the Monroe Convention Center for making space available for our county health department to administer the vaccines that we have gotten through the state.
Absolutely. Appreciate all their hard work. Okay. All right. Seeing no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone, and be well.
Bye.